Hello and welcome to another live. Seems that's all I do these days, but today is hopefully going to be a different one. We will be joined with a lady who will be talking to me live about Anunnaki and Zachariah Sitchin. In other words, is Zachariah Sitchin telling the truth or is he not? So, hi Joey, how you doing? So hopefully, I'm just trying to watch it on the big screen as well on a monitor, so I can read the questions as well. Alternate theories joined. Turns out two different names, two different names show up. So I've got Joey here, and on another TikTok shows as alternate theory. Tyrone's joined and Paul's made it on time. So yes, so hopefully, so basically this lady, she'll give you her own brief intro, I'm sure. Chris is right, who told you this. Hold on, we'll be having a debate with a lady who believes in that Zachariah Sitchin, who translated many of the tablets, is wrong, and I'll be telling her that my thoughts are that Zachariah Sitchin was correct. Sean has wrote, they don't exist. You'll just get jealous. That's obviously to do with aliens. Unfortunately, when the logical thing is, if you research something, then it becomes real if it's real. If you do zero research, then it's a maybe. So hopefully, Sean, you'll understand what I'm trying to say. So where I've done research, I can say there's aliens. Where you've probably done zero research other than listening to TV, and when I say TV news, and if you do listen to news, heaven forbid, God help you in the future that's coming. But yeah, so basically it's all to do with knowledge, and if you haven't done any research, you don't have the knowledge that I have. I'm not knocking you, I'm just saying if you haven't done it, it's not, you can't then say, as with the debate today, you'll see that if you do your homework, then you can actually debate with someone and say there's no such thing as aliens. But obviously, I know you haven't, because you would come to the conclusion that there is. You would. There's zero evidence that you wouldn't accept that. You would actually say yes, there is aliens. So again, it's just down to the lady's joined that, so let me have a look and see. So the lady has joined, and I'm going to invite the lady now. So the lady is called, forgive me, keep calling her lady, Real Chick in Canada. So I've invited Real Chick in Canada. Now, when I first read the name, I said Real Chicken Canada, and obviously I didn't break it down as some people want it broken down. So I'm just hoping that it says Real Chick isn't available to go live. I wonder why that is. Hi everybody that's saying hi. Chick in Canada's wrote, it's Catherine. Thank you, Catherine. I'm not sure if you could try maybe again to add to the live if you can at all. I don't know why it said you can't join. So I'm desperately trying to get you on. This is technology for you, everybody. So just bear with us. We will have a fantastic debate, I'm sure. So I'm just trying to figure out. Catherine did actually request the invite, and I thought I accepted it maybe a tad too late, but I'm now clicking invite again, and Catherine has got the threshold of 1,000 followers. Every time I click invite, it says Chicken Canada isn't available to go live together. Isn't available. Why is that? Oh no, don't say all this. Best laid plans and everything. Are you still there? That's probably the first test Chick in Canada. Chick is going to be, or Catherine's going to be checking her settings. So I'm not being rude when I keep calling her Chick. Oh, right. Joey's wrote possibly because Chick is in the chat. Melissa's wrote, what do you believe the purpose of the aliens creating us would be if that's what it would be true? Luckily we have tablets, stone tablets, so we kind of know why they created humans. Long story short, they required extra help here on Earth, and they manipulated the Neanderthals to help them. And when I say manipulated DNA, and which created humans, Homo sapiens sapiens, which all scientific facts lead to exactly the same area at exactly the same time as the tablets say. So it's kind of gives the game away, I think, in my opinion. Tyra has wrote, the Anunnaki created Adam, the first white man. Technically, they created two. They created Adam, as in Adamu, with a U, over in South Africa, 300,000 years ago. Then they bred with those offspring off of the ones 200,000 years later, and had Adapa, or as some people pronounce it, Adapa. So take your pick, tomatoes. And he, more than likely, because of the Anunnaki were POW, he was more than likely POW-skinned compared to the people over in Africa. So I'm trying to desperately get the person to. So I'm whizzing past so many questions, trying to find whether every time I click Chick, it says we can't invite Chick. Oh, I see. So I sent you another request. Yeah, every time I click it, it says invite. Can you do it one more time, and I'll see what happens? Maybe I missed it, and maybe there's a time limit, and I. Okay, would. Okay, this is going to be. The problem. Chickers wrote, can I go to her? The problem was I did do a video saying everyone come here at 8 o'clock, which is probably why some of these people have joined. And obviously, if we suddenly all switch, then it looks like I wasn't here at 8 o'clock. Sorry, I'm just reading the questions here from Chick. So maybe it's a timeout thing. I think there's about 5 seconds. So if you could ask again to join, I think that was my fault, probably not looking at the screen when you first did it, because it get obviously people's messages and I was reading them out. So if you could try one more time to see if you can get an invite going. Sorry, there's a lot of questions tonight. Okay, Catherine's going to send that request right now. Invite sent. Okay, you have to accept it now. That was probably why it probably timed out. Do you think men and women come from different planets? No. No. Well, technically, none of us come from a different planet per se. So I'm just waiting. I've got my volume up to see whether or not Catherine joins. I'm desperate for Catherine to join. Except, I thought, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only.
Yeah, I'm here. We figured it out. I was actually wrong on my end. I actually didn't realize I had to go into it and then accept it. So that was me.
Oh, right. No
I just
worries
don't do the live things. This is my first debate, so.
Well, I will. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming along to this evening in UK time. I think it's, what did you say? It's about 2 o'clock your time.
Yeah, it's actually 10 after 1 p.m. my time. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we're not keeping you up then. That's a good thing.
No. It was
Okay,
just
so
noon your time. It would have been a little early noon for me. So
okay, no worries.
I'm up early. So how do you want to start? Do we want to start with do you want to start and I rebut, or
Yeah, so what I was going to do is just because obviously I'll be putting this on YouTube and Spotify where I normally put the live chat, so people won't know who you are on there. They may not have
oh, I don't
TikTok
care about that.
accounts. No, it's just I was just going to try and get a bit of a background for you, so we know who you are, if that's okay, and why you're
Oh yeah.
in your position of what you are on the camp of Zachariah Sitchin, for example. So if you could give us a brief description of how you got into this and why you believe what you believe.
Okay, sure. My audio is okay because I'm only using headphones. I don't have like a real microphone.
No, you're absolutely perfect.
Okay, okay. So yeah, my real name is Catherine. Chicken Canada is just a handle because we are talking to a worldwide audience whenever you're a video creator. I also have a YouTube channel and Instagram that are the same names. And I've always been like a conspiracy oriented channel on YouTube. I've had a YouTube channel since like since the wild west of YouTube. And when I say that, I mean 2012, 2014, where anything kind of went on YouTube. So I'm not monetized, by the way. I can't get monetized. They will not monetize anything about this stuff, like ancient aliens. If you mix any type of Christianity, if you go even straight UFOs, for some reason they're not monetizing these type of topics. So I started a TikTok and an Instagram as well, just about 6 months ago, because I wanted to branch out to a younger generation. Yeah, and it's been working well. Like I said, I've been up to almost 5,000 followers now, and it's been really engaging. And like this is my first debate, so I'm nervous and excited. And I've never been able to get any traction on YouTube. Like I wanted to do this, you know what I mean? I want to do this on YouTube, but it just doesn't happen if you're not talking about celebrities or, you know. So yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I understand. I totally understand that. I mean, here on TikTok is the only place that I've got obviously YouTube channels and stuff, but TikTok, even I've got Instagram, but TikTok people are so engaging and interested, and a lot of them are very smart people. I've been doing these lives, and there's so many interesting questions and stuff. So you've got a good pedigree on TikTok, I think.
Yeah, like I said, I've only been like I said, it's like I opened it up in I think it was May or something like that, and it's been going well. And like, yeah, it's awesome. I like it because the younger generation they want the information like more snappy and like everything kind of packed into like a small video, and that's the kind of material I love making. Like I love making short to the point like edited videos on purpose. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm saying, I edit my videos on purpose to get everything in. And so I've never been able to get anyone else and join a long form debate like this. So
Okay, well, so that anyone that's listening now or in the future, if they're listening to it when it's not live, the ladies or Catherine's account is called Chick Real Chick. What is it? Just Chicken Canada or Real Chick?
it's real chicken Canada. Because people kept getting the chicken part, right? And I used to have it abbreviated like a CNDA. But people, so it's real chick in Canada because I'm a real person. Because a few times I was called like a bot and stuff, and I got really
Oh, wow,
insulted by that. Especially because
wow.
I'm old school conspiracy theorist, and so bot means something totally different than what it does now. So,
Okay,
so I put the real in just to make it, and it sounds like all together when you say it, it kind of sounds like a name, right? And I'm
okay.
in
So that
Canada, and I'm proud to be Canadian as well.
yeah, no, lovely. I mean, I've never been there, but sounds like a lovely place from
Well,
everything
if
I've
you're in the
heard from people.
UK, right? You're in the UK, right?
Yeah,
So it's pretty
yeah,
much the same.
yeah.
It's literally the same, only bigger. Seriously, it's just a bigger version because we have oceans on both sides. We have, winter, fall, spring, summer. It doesn't get like plus, and we're metric, right? So when I say like it's 35 degrees Celsius in here, that's friggin' hot. You know what I mean? The Americans, they're like 35. What? So no offense to the American people listening. It's a metric system,
Oh,
guys.
that's it. You've just lost 500 people. Suddenly disappeared. I'm joking. I'm
No,
joking.
that was a joke. Because, we're both part of the Commonwealth, right?
So, Your videos cover conspiracies, I noticed, as well as obviously Zachariah Sitchin and things like that.
No,
Uh,
I just started the Ancient Aliens series. I try to make like videos of series, kind of like you. Like we kind of make not the same material, obviously, but the same basic concept of like having a whole series to explain one idea. Do you know what I mean? Like yours are
yeah,
huge. Mine are like maybe 5, 10 parts, but I'm on the same wavelength as you. I think the same way. Like I want to put a lot of information in a lot of videos, but it takes like like an hour, so it can be like 50 videos. You know what I mean? To figure
mm,
just to get one concept out. And I
and
worked on the moon landing conspiracy for a while because that's my like favorite, right? And I'm like been called a flat earther like 100 times, and I'm really kind of mad about that because I'm not. That's another thing. I'm not a flurf or whatever it's called, a flat Earth person. I believe in everything. I believe in space. I believe in like the planets. I believe like I believe in satellites. I just don't believe that like almost 60 years ago that people went up there and came back. Right? That's all I don't believe. That's it.
so while on the subject of what you do believe, just so that as we talk, I sort of know, so we don't end up sort of debating something that we both agree. So your stance on Bigfoot, for example.
I don't think it's real. But
Okay,
at the same time, like it could have been real at one time. I don't
right.
think Bigfoot is currently walking around. No, I do.
Okay. So just for the viewers, I'm on the camp of there is a Bigfoot.
I don't know. I actually like that video you made.
I'm not sure which one out of the 800 odd, but
It's the newest, the brand. You just did a Bigfoot one where they just found one here in Canada. There's like footage.
oh right,
When
right,
you
yeah,
say
no, yeah,
when you say BC, British Columbia, remember that's Canada,
yeah, okay.
right? And that's
And
where usually all the Bigfoots are.
yeah, um, your your take on aliens as in general.
Okay, so I am in the interdimensional and not extraterrestrial camp. So I believe in aliens, but I don't think they're coming here from other planets in like metal type spaceships. I do believe UFOs. I think those are probes. Like I'm like right deep. Like like I think like the grays are like fake, industrial bodies. You know what I mean? Like that they send through a portal of some sort. Like I don't believe in planetary ships. I believe in like interdimensional because that's how they
Silly,
bend gravity and like reappear and disappear and all.
yeah. So okay, well, while we're on that subject, so forgive me if I ask questions in a sort of logical
No,
way. That
I love it. I love it.
okay, because so many people tell me that I'm rude, but I just sort of say the question there and then. I don't bother sugarcoating it, and people don't like that. They would rather
It's
me.
called being blunt.
Yeah. So
There's nothing wrong with being blunt.
okay, so with the interdimensional that you're saying that you would rather go along with the interdimensional than the planetary side of it. Technically, at this point, we only know of one dimension, but we do know of other planets. So for me, the logic would be until we've got proof of a second dimension, we can't say that
They
there is.
do. There is proof. You know the double slit experiment. That kind of proves there's some not other things going on besides the. And you
But
got to think of multiple different vision planes. We like ultraviolet, different
yeah,
what's
yeah.
that red one that we can't see?
But can I just interject there? So when they first done the quantum entanglement experiment, they actually said that they thought they'd created or gone through to a second dimension. Turns out they then said no, they didn't. So where scientists are now saying that they think that they've got a second dimension down the line, until you can actually physically go to that dimension and see that it's not the same as our dimension, it could be the end of our universe, for example. So it could still be within our dimension, but
Hmm.
scientists don't know because they've never been to the end of our universe. Do you get what I'm saying? So you can't say for sure that it's another dimension until they've stepped through it. All they're
Well, of
doing is
course
is
not. Of course not.
manipulating particles. But um, we have got people that have been abducted by aliens. Obviously, if you say that there's no such thing, even if they're interdimensional, the aliens have actually pointed out. I don't know if you were aware of Betty and Barney Hill, where the little greys gave her a star map or showed her
Yeah,
a
a
star
book.
map, and under hypnotherapy or hypnoregression, she actually drew that star map that she could see as a hologram that they put in front of her when she was on the craft. Roll on another 20 or 30 years later, a teacher was looking at this star map, and bearing in mind now we have more technology, we can see further out in space, and we could now see the Zeta Reticuli star system, and it actually matched that. And then it goes along with all the other people that say they're from Zeta Reticuli. So in other words, they're from a two-planet star system. And also, we've got the crop circle that appeared. I know you could say, well, it was a fake crop circle, but it appeared and it showed a grey, and it also showed the information about their planet and how they are silicon based, etc., which goes along with many of the whistleblowers I've heard that actually do work for the military. So everything to me leads to I'm not saying there isn't other aliens out there that possibly could go through a dimension, but we've pretty much, I mean, the Dracos come from the Draco star system, the Pleiadians come from the Pleiadian star system, the Zetas come from the
Yeah, but
Zeta
you can
star
say
system.
that, but that's the same, like I can say back to you, rebut you about the dimension theory, is there's no proof of this. If there was that many different ships, we would see the traffic. Do you know what I mean? Like I have a telescope. Trust me, the meteor shower's coming up in a couple days here on the 12th. It starts up here in the Perseids, right? Like I've been watching. You know what I mean? And like I said, is the same kind of thing. Scientists, like nobody can prove that like spaceships landed or any like actual proof. And
So I
actually,
could,
the
I,
military is leaning more to the interdimensional side about, especially because the way the gravitational pull around these different so-called crafts they're seeing, right? Like
so
those
I could,
documents that came out. Go on, go on.
sorry, I was just going to rebut your thing. So, um, Billy Meyer, do you know Billy Meyer?
Is he like is he a black guy?
No, in
That guy?
Switzerland. No,
Okay,
white guy,
no, I don't
beard.
know who that guy.
Okay, so in the 60s, he was visited by what he said were Palladian aliens. They told him various things about the future, and they told him where they come from. They also warned him that he will lose one of his arms later on in life, which he ended up doing. He also took pictures of them, the craft and the people. So when you
Really?
say that, yeah, we've got they're on the internet. There's a huge backstory to him, but the problem, and they're fantastic pictures, and he took some of those with only one arm, and he lives out in Switzerland in a field. And the only reason why these pictures come out is a guy called Tom Horn that
Oh, I know who
heard about,
Thomas Horn is.
yeah. So he heard about him and went along and befriended him and looked at his pictures and blah 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 blah. But where you said there's no evidence of UFOs flying around, the problem we've got is as soon as you see evidence, if it's too clear, you'll say it's fake, CGI even. If it's too blurry, you'll say fake is too blurry. So we've got fantastic celluloid pictures
Yeah,
prior to internet,
I
prior to
believe in all of those
Photoshop.
pictures, though. I do. I totally believe. Like I'm the one. I sent you a couple. I sent you that new one they released. Remember
But didn't you
the
just
Joe
say that?
Rogan one?
But didn't you just say
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. They
nuts
couldn't.
and bolts?
Maybe no, and that's my point. I'm saying, what if when I say interdimensional, I'm talking about like different perceptions. Like maybe like you said, star map, like you go back to hypnotism. What if these beings, which honestly I think they're deceivers, right? Remember, we're gonna definitely get into the Christian part when we get to Sitchen here. But they could be just showing you these things and making you believe that, right? Like, so if you're saying, like, sure, there's pictures, if there's physical pictures, I want to see a source on this. I actually personally never heard of this before, but I'm going to take your word for it. But I'm just saying, like, they could be deceiving you. Do you know what I mean? Or the not you personally, but the people that are experiencing this are maybe not. They're just they want. Have you ever heard of like Skinwalker Ranch? People see, like, one person sees one thing, another person sees another. Doesn't, like, if there's something there, but it's, I don't think it's physical, like a piece of something you can pick up. I think whatever the person whose experience is perceiving what they want us to perceive it to be. And that's what I mean by interdimensional. You know what I mean?
Hmm. So you're saying they're interdimensional, but they're pretending they're from the Zeta Reticuli star system with a
Yes,
planet that.
yes, yes. There's, but I personally think like Event Horizons. Like, have you ever seen that movie? That's what
Yeah.
I personally like. That's what I think they're going to. They're bringing us to something like, well, we can get into the telescopes and all that stuff, but I told, like I said, I'm basically on the same lines as you. I just like, I believe, I don't think they're fake pictures. I don't, like, you know what I mean? I believe in all of the new army stuff that come out. Like I said, I just, and I feel like some people know the truth. I just don't think they're like aliens from another solar system. I think they're from a different like realm, to use a theologic term.
Okay, so
You know what I mean?
have you heard of Project Serpo?
Possibly, like possibly. I just don't know the name of it. What's the scenario?
Okay,
The
so I guess what okay, sorry, without sounding rude, I've been doing this for 40 years, so I've heard a lot more than you, which is probably why your stance is interdimensional, whereas mine is planetary. But so Project Serpo
Yeah, but
was
how old do you
actually
think I am? Do you think I'm like 20 or something?
no, I'm saying I have physically been doing this for 40 odd years, so
Because I've been
um,
I've been I've been doing this my whole life too, ever since the minute I could read. I didn't even own a computer till I was 30 years old. Like I had to physically go look at books and stuff like that.
I'm
I
sorry.
went to
No,
school.
it's only because when I asked you certain things like Billy Meyer and Project Serpo, you hadn't heard of them. They're quite important in the
Because
ufology
I'm not
side of
really,
things.
yeah, but that's the thing is I'm not really in the the UFO camp. I'm more into like aliens or demons camp. Sitchen is wrong camp.
I know. Okay,
The,
so what I'm trying
like
to
the
say
more
though is,
like the Christian side of it, right? And that's why I thought that's the debate, right?
but yeah, but if I mean, this is just me again. This is the way I work. So if I was going to look into Christianity side of things, which I did,
Because I got all
um,
these notes and it's all about Sitchin. Like I didn't know
uh,
we were gonna get
yeah,
into all this stuff.
no worries, no worries. No, but I'm just trying to get where you're coming from, so to speak. So if you're not aware of Project Serpo, let me just explain it quickly. It was a
Sure.
military exchange between the Zetas and the American personnel. 13 went up. Long story, won't bore you with it. And then Spielberg found out about that through a guy called Jacques Vallée, who was some people called the
I know who
Godfather of
Jacques
this.
Vallée is.
Yeah. So him and Spielberg, in fact, the character in
Didn't
Close
he write a
Encounters.
book called Messengers of Deception? Just
I'm not
that's the same guy,
sure.
right? Jacques Vallée. Yeah, I think he wrote a
Yeah,
book called
I
that.
think he's wrote a few books. Yeah. So Spielberg then done a film based on Project Serpo called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. But the thing is, the point was, it's a military thing where they actually sent people off to a different planet.
Yeah, but what's the proof of that? Like, just like it's a story, right? Like, did they bring back a piece of that planet? Does the military have that? Is there documents like saying that?
In the military, there is, yeah, from
Yeah,
whistleblowers.
but
But of
who's
course,
seen it?
well,
Oh,
whistleblowers that have come out. But the problem is, if you disregard whistleblowers, then everything that comes out from whistleblowers, even Edward Snowden, you'd have to say, well, if one whistleblower is lying, then they all have to leave. So you could, at what point do you say, okay, whistleblowers that have had their records checked to come back to exactly where they were at exactly that point? Um, at what point it's just it goes back to the same as the UFOs. If you see a picture of a UFO, are you going to say it's fake just because people want it to be fake? Do you see what I mean? I know it's hard to say, but okay, let's get on to Sitchin.
no worries.
Have you read any of Sitchin's books?
I read The 12th Planet when I was younger.
Right.
I've
So
looked
so
through a lot of his work and I wanted to check. I went through dictionaries and stuff getting ready for this week. So,
right.
like I said, I just checked a lot of his claims and I just have rebuttals for that, there's certain dictionaries like I think like with the Oxford Dictionary and there's no references to these exact claims that he's making, right? That's my rebuttal. Like I've looked myself. Like I have a question for you. When you wrote a comment on my thing about you destroyed some guy, who were you talking about? Because you weren't talking
Um,
about Mr. Michael Heisman. Because I
no, it
looked
was
through all his stuff.
no, it was another guy. I've done a video on it. Um, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I've done a couple of videos actually on TikTok, and basically he worked for. Um, I believe he was the first person to actually say, bearing in this is going back 2012. He was the first person I'd ever seen say the word princely seeds for the description of the word Anunnaki. So I actually emailed him back then, and so I put the
Yeah, but what's his name?
I would have to hunt all the way through. Let me try and find him again.
Because like I looked through the scholars and like I have multiple scholars that don't believe in Sitchin. They all agree with that. That's what that means. Like there's 100 different like there's they've been working on this dictionaries like for 100 years, right? Like almost a century now, and there's no like text with like that has like Nibiru and like the Anunnaki were going to Nibiru, anything like that. There's nothing
Okay, so
about traveling in spaceships.
yeah,
There's no
okay,
core ideas in his
right.
writings that go back to physical. And he never, Sitchin, like especially 12th Planet, he doesn't cite any of the documentations in his stories. He just says we assume that which actually means this, right? He doesn't say where he got that text in any of his books. He doesn't back up any of his writings.
Right. Okay. So he's been researching since before the 60s. So
Yeah, but
the
that's
person.
in the 60s though. That's
All right, let me
before
let
like common
from
people could actually look it up, right?
from the 60s. Okay. So let me just point out one of the people that you're referring to that says princely seeds. You're referring to a Christian author. So as a
He's not a
Christian
Christian
author,
author. He's a bilingual scholar. If you're talking about Michael Heiser, like
yeah.
he's got
If you
multiple
look
credentials in, and like Sitchin, the only credential he has is journalism. He doesn't have any ancient language credentials at all.
right, so you're saying that because he didn't go to a school that, bearing in mind, is run by
I'm talking about he didn't
Rockefellers.
study it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but why does that matter?
Okay, no, you're saying he didn't study. You can't just say he didn't study. He obviously studied it.
No, I
Obviously,
said he
you
didn't
know
have
he did.
credentials. I didn't say he
No, but
didn't
you then
study. I
did
said
say
he didn't have
you
actual
you
credentials
did then
for
say he
ancient
didn't study it.
languages. He only has a degree in journalism. That's
Right.
what I
Do
said.
you
Yeah.
realize who? Do you realize who? As a conspiracy person, you must know who buys into museums. What
No, I
family buys
understand
in?
the
Yeah.
Smithsonian. Trust me, I'm all about the like hiding giants camp. Trust me.
Right.
Like I said, like I'm all about that. Like I said,
So
Sitchin
if
reminds me of Ron L. Hubbard. If you know who Hubbard is, the inventor of Scientology, Sitchin did the same thing with this Nibiru Anunnaki gold mining stuff. That's
right.
what I think.
Okay. I mean, I'm happy to point out bits and pieces to you. So your guy is a Christian author. He writes Christian books. There's no denying that. I know you said he's bilingual, but he writes Christian books. Now, a Christian does not want anyone to think there was aliens here creating humans.
Yeah, but
Correct? Yes or no?
that's not him. No, that is not Michael Heisner. He doesn't believe that. He believes in aliens and extraterrestrials. He just doesn't believe in people putting out the wrong information.
And
Like
neither do
he's
I,
not
which is
just a
why we're
Christian
doing this.
author. He wasn't even brought up a Christian, right? He chose this theologic experience on his own. He's like a major in Hebrew studies and everything. Sitchin's
Right.
a Jew and he gets Hebrew grammar wrong in his own books.
Sitchin could actually write and read in 6 different languages. The person you're talking about can only do Hebrew and Semitic languages. Are you aware of that?
There's multiple
So,
languages. He does
so I'm
all ancient religion languages. But
so
that's
no.
not the point. You can check his work too, though. He's like,
We have
I
to.
went on the actual codex text that he talks about and checked it out for myself this
Okay.
morning. That's what I
So
did
what?
on my
Hang
daughter
on.
was with me.
This is difficult. Okay. So let's look at it logically. Okay, from a logical point of view, you've got a guy that doesn't read Aramaic, Assyrian,
Yes,
Babylon,
he
or
does. He does do Aramaic. Like, if
right.
you want,
But
I can pull up his credentials and I can tell you
I'm
everything he
I'm
does.
only going by what I can find on the internet. I haven't spoken to the guy, but obviously it doesn't show that he only does.
But he's just one of my sources. Like I said, like I just use him
Okay.
because he's alive for one.
Right. Let me
You
let
know,
me
like
just let me just nail this straight away so we can move on from.
Like take the definition of the gold. Like the Anunnaki weren't built to make gold. That's not what it says in the text. It says they were creating the world and they didn't want to create the world anymore. And then when they made man, Adama, right? It got too loud for them and that's when they made a flood and killed them. Not because they were mining gold. There is nothing in the actual Sumerian text that says that. I checked myself. I'm talking about myself.
Hundreds of thousands of texts you've checked. Really?
No,
Tell
but
me the
okay,
truth.
so then
Tell me the
Sitchin,
truth.
No, I checked for what I could pick for all in the dictionaries that they have
Yes.
up in Oxford.
Right. Let me explain
The
something to you.
Oxford Dictionary.
You
But
do
you can't say
realise
Sitchen found them all either. Where did he
no, but
get his information?
well, that you know where the tablets are, don't you? And if you don't even know where the tablets are, then
They're all
tell me.
over the world.
Yes, the Louvre. They're in universities. They're in
And they've
museums.
been compiling a dictionary for almost a century, different ancient scholars.
Right. And you're aware that there is an actual Sumerian dictionary as well?
Yes, actually, no, it's an Akkadian dictionary that they got handed down from the Sumerians.
So you do realise
And that's
then that
another thing. They use Akkadian, they mesh that too. So the Sitchin would mesh that up too. Like ancient aliens. They'll show Akkadian genies with the pine cone and call them Anunnaki, which I think is very deceiving because that's not even the same. Like it's 500
okay.
year difference or whatever.
Let's go back because I know you do seem to cut me off to stop and throw your bits out,
Sorry,
but
I'm just getting
that's all right.
excited.
That's all right. So your guy says princely
Quit saying
seeds.
my guy. You can say me. I believe this. This is
Right,
my
you.
beliefs.
So
Okay?
so
Those are
right, let
just
me
my
get
sources, right?
okay, so what we've got is we've got you that's never read half of Zachariah Sitchin's books. You that don't
Read
know
fiction.
that you don't know that you can't read Babylonian, Sumerian, blah blah blah. So you're going by other people's translations of what they perceive, for example, the word Anunnaki to be, which that person said princely seeds, and you believe that, correct?
I go by the root words, yeah?
Right.
Yes.
Do
I
you
agree.
right?
Yes, I'm agreeing.
The jury who's listening. So we've got the word
Actually, I haven't even looked at the chat once. I'm looking at my notes.
Anunnaki. Okay. So Zachariah Sitchin's translated it from those from heaven came to earth. Now, bearing in mind, heaven was actually space back then. That was the word for space. But right, so we've got Zachariah Sitchin, those from heaven came to earth. Then we've got other people, such as the person that I spoke about, plus your person, Heiser, who say princely seeds. Anunnaki translates into princely
Well,
seeds.
it comes Anu. It comes from the root word Anu, which was their god of the sky.
Okay.
Do you agree with that at least? Like
Well,
Anu?
let me just
No? Okay.
let me just well, you do realize that Sumerian words have up to six um
I totally understand.
different things. So teeth, head, nose, mouth, all could be one word. But let
But
me
there
just
was
go
only
back
one
to
there was only one on.
the point that ends it. This is how I destroyed that guy.
Okay,
Princely seeds, everybody. Princely seeds from the word Anunnaki, or those from heaven came to earth. Earth. The Sumerian word for earth is Kai or Ki. That's the fact. So when you've
no, it's
got
not though. That key
Anunnaki,
that's
Earth. Now
it's a consummation.
when you've got Anunnaki, Earth, you can't have princely seeds, Earth. So everything else that your
Oh,
guy
okay.
says, do you get what I'm saying? So he's obviously clearly wrong
Yeah,
because
but that
you
is
can't have.
but I don't okay. I
But it
guess. I
is.
mean,
I can't deny it. That's what
but
key is. Go and look it up.
but that's
So
not
you're
what I'm looking at here though. Like that's the thing is I'm not agreeing with you because it doesn't say that here on my dictionary that I'm using right now, which is called the Electronic Text Corpus of Sumerian Literature. This
no.
is what I'm looking at.
Okay, who wrote that? This is what I do. You watch my videos, you see I go back and find out who wrote what. And I'm not saying
This is out of Oxford. I already told you.
right.
It's Oxford.
So
It came from Oxford Dictionary.
okay, 1 second. Carry on
English
talking.
translations of 3 German articles on the Anunnaki. Oh, this is a different article. And that's what he's got. So look under electronic text corpus of Sumerian, and then you search for Anuna, and it comes up the keyword, and then it comes down for words for Anunnaki. This search will get you Anunnaki, and that's what it's called, right? This is the electronic text corpus of Sumerian. That's what it's called.
Okay, so I think we've
And then
agreed
it
then.
shows these little lines and the greens, and so
Yeah.
maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing, but that's
Well, no. So basically, what I'm saying is,
it has like 20 results, right?
you know, the old saying, "The victors write the story." So I'm saying you're trusting in that. Now, let me throw another thing out to you, which you probably don't know about. Sorry, that didn't mean to come out rude. Are you aware of Robert William Rogers?
No,
No.
no,
So,
unfortunately not.
okay. So he,
I'm just, I'm just, I don't know if you're, but I'm married and I have children and stuff. So I have a lot in my brain. So I possibly know the author. It's not coming to
yeah,
me.
no worries. No, I mean, he's not, basically, he's not really an author. He translated the cuneiform tablets
Yeah, but
way
he's not the
before.
only one.
Okay.
Sorry, I wasn't. I was talking to my daughter. She's
Yeah,
asleep.
so he translated the tablets as way before, and obviously again with his knowledge that he had at that point. So, like for example, the word demon translates into a meteorite, whereas now we know we have our own word for meteorite. But he translated Nibiru. He called it heaven's portal. And what he says there in his translation, nothing to do with Sitchin, in his own translation, you can look it up. It's called the Cuneiform Parables to the Old Testament. And he said Adapa, or um, however you ever pronounce it, is going to see the king basically on heaven's portal. So he has to get dressed. Now, Sitchin's version of that, he gets dressed in tight clothes. This guy's version of it, he gets dressed in morning clothes, ready to go. So there's so much more than it's a lifetime of research, and I don't think the person that
Okay, so how
you're
about let's
following.
go down to the gold part, okay? Because he tries to say that the word that they're using for wisdom means mines, and when you read the longer text, it does not insert with gold mines. Like, you know what I mean? Like that text is not in there. There's nothing that says that they extended from flying machines to mine gold.
In the tablets that you've looked at, or he's looked at, in the hundreds of thousands of
In the
tablets that's
research I've done, like it
yeah,
says,
I've done
right? Like
research, but
it's
I haven't sat and gone to Nineveh, because Nineveh doesn't, or the
I just
Baghdad
looked up the
Museum, for
terms in the
example.
Sumerian dictionaries and I didn't find them. So that's
Yeah,
how
I'm
I
saying
based
not
that on,
all of them,
right?
not all of these locations that have these tablets actually have them for you to read or even translate. You would have to physically
Yeah,
go
but
there.
all right. Well,
So I'm saying, has your guy gone? I know, or not your guy, but Heiser gone to every single location that Zachariah Sitchin went to, sat there, read them like he said he did. You see what I'm
he's done
saying?
enough research that he's like done multiple classes and stuff like that. Like I like all his credentials makes me want to trust his work. Like that's what my point is the source I use. The problem is like when you say like that not everyone's read all these tablets, then Sitchin hasn't either,
No,
right?
he hasn't.
Like
No, I mean
a lot of
there's
his
hun-
translations, what I'm saying is a lot of his translations don't like, if you can see my hands making quotations, jive with the rest of the Sumerian story. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
That's why
I've
people like
got
me have questions. He just
okay. So
pulled
I've
personally out of thin air.
right. I've gone through, like I say, there's Henry Rowlinson, Robert William Rogers, and many others that have actually translated the tablet, or certain tablets, obviously. And when I listen or read Zachariah Sitchin's work, and I've read the other people's work, and one of them makes sense, and the other one's just slightly not right, e.g., morning clothes compared to tight clothes. I've read
Those
Sitchin's.
translations aren't as bad as talking about the ones that are saying that we were made by a slave race and all that
Okay,
stuff.
so let me ask you:
To mine gold, right? The
right,
gold part really bothers me
right?
because it's nowhere. They use
Do you believe there was gold mines in South Africa then? Ancient gold mines.
I don't know. I've never been there. I've never researched it, so I'll take your word for it.
Well, actual miners in South Africa many times have actually been mining and come across an ancient mine shaft that was predates obviously us by thousands of years. Um, and
You can't date
some of
rock.
those stories did come out in newspapers, etc. That's how I remember them. Obviously, everything I've done for my own record. So I've never, if I knew I was going to be talking to people 20, 30 years after, I would have saved everything, but I didn't. But you can probably
It's just
find,
a fun debate, right? It's a fun debate. It's
yeah,
not a big deal.
No, so if there is a gold mine, then clearly they were mining for gold. Someone was mining for gold that had technology that
Yeah,
allowed them
but
to mine for gold.
why do you think that's evidence? For one, you can't date rock, okay? At least, like, you can't. There's no way to date rock.
Well,
They only
first,
date the vegetation and carbon around the rock.
yes, I'm fully aware of that.
So,
But if there's these gold
I'm
mines,
not
as
saying you're not. I was just making sure we agreed
yeah,
sometimes. That's
yeah.
all.
So if that, yeah, no, I'm totally fully aware of radiocarbon dating, etc. Um,
Some
so
people think you can date rock. That's all, right?
yeah, no,
Not me and
I
you. I'm
agree.
talking about other people listening.
Yeah,
That's
I
all.
know they do, yeah. So if these miners that have come across ancient mine shafts are correct, then where would the gold be in South Africa that predated um, us lot? Now, you could say, well,
Yeah,
the
but see,
amount of
Egypt.
gold, yeah, I was just about to say, the amount of gold, you could say, well, they built the lost city of gold with, but
Well, and
um,
all that gold they use for the pyramids and like the tops and all that stuff and all.
yeah, that's another thing. There is no evidence whatsoever. If you Google and look and hunt, you will never find anyone saying there was. You'll hear people saying there was a gold top, and then when you look and look and look, you'll find that there was never a gold top. And the answer to their version of a gold top for a pyramid is, oh, it was stolen. Well, if it was stolen in antiquity, how do you know it was gold? Well, because it would have been. That's what you get. So this is
Yeah, no, I agree totally. I agree totally.
yeah.
I was just throwing that out there, kind of like a half joke, but you
Yeah,
answered
sorry.
it, so it's okay.
Sorry.
No, I totally understand. It could have went there, and the thing when you say like the gold mining, and you were gonna say like the technology to do that, like did they find a piece of like did they find an Antikythera device in there? Like I don't know. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm
No,
honest. Like I'm saying,
because
did they
if
find? So until they find something, I don't know if I can believe that there, right? Like
well, so if you go by Sitchin's work, and there's other people's, but if you go by Sitchin's work, where he says, and the beautiful part with Sitchin, which is why I adore him, is he's put everything in a chronological order. And as you know, the British Museum has tablets. You probably watched some of my videos, but they have tablets where it says Enki tells it wasn't Noah. The word's not Noah. I could never remember his name, but Enki tells the reed wall, Noah's reed wall in his bedroom, because he's not allowed to tell him directly. He tells him, and there's the actual tablet is in the British Museum saying Enki. So he was warning him of the flood. Now, if you go back to the Zachariah Sitchin story, which you've obviously not read, but it says that they was aware that the ice shelf in Antarctica was going to break off and slide into the ocean and will cause a tsunami. And they had a debate about it. And that's when Enki said, no, let me tell the people, because he was fond of the people that he'd created, humans. But there were some giants at that point because of the offspring off of the Anunnaki and humans. Sometimes they had genetic disorders and ended up with gigantism. That's my take on why only some of the offspring were giants and not all of them. Because if you read other documentation such as demigods, etc., then you realise that not all of them ended up being giants. But the flood
oh yeah, no,
was
I'm with you there. I'm with
right.
you there. Remember, I'm like like I believe in first incursion, second incursion, all that stuff. So we're
Okay.
on the same page when it comes to the giants and all that stuff.
So with the impending knowledge of the tsunami, they moved all their gear um, out of the locations that would have been flooded, and they hovered above and watched people drown and die, etc.,
No, and
etc.
I know these stories, but the like what my point is it doesn't say that exact stuff in those tablets. It doesn't say that the Anunnaki moved their gear or moved their technology out of the caves, right? It doesn't say that in there.
No, it doesn't say that. But if you was a smart futuristic race and you was going to go land back on Earth and had to carry on mining, you would take your equipment and take it up if you think the
No,
planet's
and
going to
I
flood.
get that. No, I understand that, but that's my problem with Sitchin is that he fills in the blanks with like a modernity type feel, right? And I feel like ancient writings are really not an interpretation sometimes. Sometimes they
Well,
just mean what they
to
say.
be fair, he didn't say they took up their equipment. That's me saying it as a logical thing to do.
Oh,
Because
well, okay.
yeah,
Sorry.
sorry, yeah. I mean, it's a
I
logical
was
thing.
assuming that's what it said because you told
All
me
right.
that's what it said. I
Well,
just
yeah, because you asked
misunderstand.
me. Yeah, you asked if if anyone had found any sort of futuristic tech, and then I sort of said, well, they would have took it up with them, and then I sort of carried on with Zachariah Sitchin's version.
No, that's totally
Yeah.
understandable though. But that's the thing is, and that's on the other side of that debate. Like I'm totally on the side of ancient technologies and all of that stuff. Like I am. Like I really am. I do believe in all that. Like I said, the same way it works with the moon conspiracy, the only thing about that part I don't believe is like NASA in the 60s. The only thing I don't believe about the ancient technology astronauty type, for one, I don't think it was aliens. I think it was just humans, right? Like Graham Hancock, like that theory, you know who that is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I subscribe to his type of like old civilization stuff. So take Sitchin. If he could just turn it into like that's what happened without the aliens, I'd be down for Sitchin. I just because it doesn't say exactly what he wrote, that's why I don't agree. I'm just trying to wrap
Okay.
this up because my husband's gonna phone me from work here, and it'll shut
All right. Okay.
everything off on
So,
my end.
couple-
So I'm
oh,
trying to wrap it up because I'm
yeah.
watching it. I only have till about like 2 or 5 2. He usually phones me, so
Okay. Ever
5
so
more
quickly
minutes
then,
or so.
if the word was princely seed, then who would have been their king? In other words, the two princely seeds, which would have been Enki and Enlil, I'm sure you'll agree
Yeah.
that they're written in there.
Yes,
So
yes.
suddenly,
Anu,
yeah,
An or
correct.
Anu is, and
But
Shamash is the sun, right?
so
Like that's kind of
so what I'm saying is, out of nowhere, absolutely nowhere, an intelligent king had intelligent children on Earth at the same time that we were supposedly cavemen, Stone Age or Neanderthals, and we call them princely seeds. So technically, they were still. So where was King Anu? Because if you read
well, that's the
the
thing. That
ancient text,
timeline totally doesn't coincide, though, right? Like
he dis-
if you
yeah,
because
he disappears back
Sumerian
to.
was only about 6 7,000 years ago, right? You got to think, and like when you're talking about Neanderthals, that's like 20,000 years at least. No,
Well,
there
I
wasn't.
say
We weren't cavemen
Stone
five
Age.
thousand years ago.
Stone Age, I think, was 10,000 years ago. So these
Yeah,
people
but that's
suddenly,
7,000 years ago is Sumerian, isn't it? Not
well,
10,000. I mean, if you want to go like Gobekli Tepe style, but that wasn't Sumer either. That was
and
different.
and with the Göbekli Tepe again, you can't date stone.
No, I know, but they did find vegetation that proved that it was deliberately buried like that and it was untouched, and they dated it to 11.5, right?
Yeah. So
That's a different debate.
yeah. Sorry, you lost. I'm trying to remember what I was going to say then. Because I
Well,
know you're
I
on a
wasn't agreeing with
time
your
schedule.
timeline. I wasn't agreeing that you were saying that Neanderthals and caveman and
Well, Stone
advanced
Age,
Sumerians. That's what I wasn't agreeing with. So I
Stone
just
Age, I
sent you
think
that.
was 10,000 years ago. So
I
the
think it
last.
was later than that. I think the hunter gathering started around 12, and then like all of a sudden civilizations popped up, right? So I'm thinking I'm
Uh,
gonna go more 15,000, maybe 20,000.
and ended before. It says here on the internet, and Stone Age ended 4000 BCE, which would have still been in that period. But the one
6,000.
question that I've got to ask you, you are aware of the fused chromosomes that people have?
Like you're talking about like the Neanderthal and like the other DNA stuff. You're talking about like
No,
the way
no.
lines work, or
Humans have two fused chromosomes, number 23 and 24. We should have had 28 chromosomes. We've only got 26. And if you watch my latest videos or just research, you'll see that scientists are actually now fusing chromosomes in animals to try and create hybrid animals. So we've got a hybridization in us thanks to the markers there that we can see that the chromosomes have been fused together. But the question I was going to say is we've got a brand new language suddenly appeared. So if they're not from another planet, how the hell did Sumerian language? There's not anything that predates that in terms of half writings, half drawing, half writing, half scribbles, half this. Suddenly, hundreds of thousands of these
yeah, there
brand
was
new
cave.
language.
They were painting on caves 30,000 years ago. What do you
Yes,
think
but
Laszlo is?
suddenly, in the last, as you even going by your standard,
If
7,000
you think
years.
about it, even they said their writings were ancient, right?
But in 7,000 years BC, we suddenly had a brand new language, and we had the laws, the agriculture, the farming, everything metallurgy, cosmetics, everything was come from Samaria. How would that be if the whole planet had people on it at that point, which it did?
Well, because I like I said, it could came from an interdimensional source. Just not I just don't think there was spaceships coming down for our gold.
And the
So I guess we
translation of
agree to disagree.
right, okay. I'm just saying that the one last thing then is that the description, which is Eric von Daniken pointed out many years ago, and obviously I've looked into it and I do agree with him, is where the word chariot is one of the craft. So when people like Heiser says there's no mention of spacecraft, the word is chariots, and that carries through. That actually carries through into ancient Egypt, where they end up talking about sky gods, etc., on chariots. So. So that's what I was just throwing out there. So in my opinion, I think that guy has got an agenda, and I don't think he has read as much as he likes to think he has. But that's just me.
Okay, and like I said, until they find like a physical proof that'll come out with a physical part of a something, I'll always think it's interdimensional, and it's always going to be deceptive and evil from my end, right? Aliens or demons, that's the number one thing for my end. So, but we should have a debate about that eventually, if you want, because like that's my alley is like the whole like aliens or demons, and and you just have to say Jesus' name out loud in the abduction will stop and all that. Like I have so much stuff on that.
Yeah, I've heard so many stories of that as well. People say Jesus' name.
But it was a
The
wonderful
problem,
talk. I thought it
yeah.
was a good debate. My husband's gonna call me in a minute
Okay,
here.
no worries.
It was awesome. I have to get going, but like I said, I hope it was good. Yeah, like I'm not saying I'm no expert, nothing. Don't ever think I'm just like I said, a chick in Canada. That's literally all I am. So
No
it was
worries. Thank
wonderful
you so.
debate, and hopefully we do it again sometime.
Yeah, thank you so much for even taking the time. That's lovely.
Oh, I'm still gonna be following your all your stuff like I always do. No worries. I love
Lovely.
you.
Thank
You're
you.
awesome.
No,
Thank you.
thank you very
Bye
much.
bye.
You can take care. Bye-bye. Bye. So I can now obviously read questions from. Sorry, I didn't read them. The only question I just suddenly saw is Sparks has wrote pure waffle, and then Christina's wrote finally after that. So I'm not sure what people made of that, but thank you for listening. So I'm here if anyone wants to ask any questions. So Vin has wrote aliens are aliens are other species, perhaps more advanced than us, so we made them our gods. Yeah. WD's wrote who won. Well, it's up to you guys to make up your minds on things. Lisa's wrote they're not demons. Yeah, that was my last point. I was going to say because where the lovely lady said that aliens are demons. I was just about to say, so as soon as we land on another planet, we'd be demons, but I didn't get a chance to say that. So, but it's lovely that because I do put out these calls. You've probably seen the videos where I say, "Does anyone want to debate me?" And not many people do. So it was lovely that someone did take the time to come along. Sorry, the screen keeps flickering back. I'm trying to read it on the larger screen and it keeps flickering. I don't know why it does that. Joey's wrote Anunnaki means son of Anu or prince of Anu, but yet the word ki does actually mean earth. So you can quite easily see how the translation can be those who came to earth as opposed to princely seed or sons of prince or anything without the word earth in it. It's harder for me to understand because ki or kai means earth, which is why Enkai ended up changing his name from Ea to Enkai, which again makes sense. And they did all change their names. I mean, we know that from Ishtar and who was also Iana. That's other researchers and everything has agreed that she changed her name. So yeah. So I will always go with the Kai being Earth, which makes so much more sense. Those from space that came to Earth, which is absolutely logical than princely seeds without the word Earth in it. June has wrote her argument was her book is from Oxford. Who owns or funds Oxford is a real question, which I was actually trying to Google that while while I was talking to her, but I think then we ended up changing the subject as quickly, so I didn't get a chance to see whether Rockefeller's funds Oxford. I know the Rockefellers own. Let's well, they say they fund them, but let's be honest. The British Museum is also called the Rockefeller Museum. How the hell did that happen? They tried. If you watch my videos, there's actual evidence, written documentation from Egypt where the Rockefellers back in the 20s tried to buy bribe, shall we even say, the Egyptian government and allowing them to build a museum there, which would have only had Americans in it, and the Egyptian government said no to that. So, yes, the question is who writes those things when it comes to any establishment. Because of my research over the years, I don't trust them at all. So yeah. Martins wrote, "Do you believe of life on other planets?" Yes, totally do. Metal Detectors wrote, "Good show and debate." Sorry, I'm just going to scroll back because it sort of scrolled and I was okay. It's not letting me read the bigger, larger text, so I'm just going to go from here. Sorry about that. Lazuz wrote, she said, "Interdimensions. What do you understand on that?" Well, like I say, when the first quantum entanglement, so I look into all that kind of stuff as well. So when the first quantum entanglement was done, which basically means one atom or particle here could have another particle at the end of the universe, and when they switch that on, the one at the other end of the universe turns off instantly. It's literally at the same time. And that's what basically they're saying, things are connected, blah, blah, blah. But back then, they actually said, oh, we've managed to do something within, through another dimension. They thought that the particle was in another dimension, but later on they realized it's probably not in another dimension, and they said it's somewhere else in the universe, which fine. But what my argument is, when someone says that there's another dimension, until you can actually show there's a dimension and not just show something blinking in and out of our universe and not actually see it blinking in and out in a different universe and quantifying that different universe, as I said, it could have been, the end of if you watched Star Trek Next Generation, where no man has gone before, the end of or further out in the universe, it was all painted colours and it was lovely. I don't know if you guys remember that, but basically it didn't look like our universe. It was totally different. Things were flying around and all sorts of stuff. So one could argue that if you did accidentally create a miniature wormhole here, you would look at through the wormhole and see all these miraculous stuff and think, wow, that's another dimension. But it may just be further along in our universe. That's my take on that. Jammers wrote, "OMAO, you escaped from the hospital again." I'm still here. Christina's wrote, "She was something else." As I say, I'm very lucky that people want to debate with me, so it's nice. I don't get that often at all, hardly ever, other than my brother saying, "Shut up, you're a stupid prat, go back to the hospital." And then he points me in the wrong direction. He knows where the bloody hospital is. I don't know why he always tells me to go the wrong way. But anyway, Dree Day has wrote, "We do tests on animals, which could be classed as evil by some, but others say it's science." That's exactly what I say. My analogy is very similar to that, but I say, if we took a cat to a vet's, the cat would think we're being horrible to it, and being evil, but really we're doing it for our own benefit, and for the cat's benefit, whereas an alien could be abducting us for our benefit, but we're seeing them as evil, obviously, because that's something we don't want to be done, and the trauma of finding out that we've been manipulated while in the care of an alien is pretty intense. So that's why I think they wipe out memories. Danny's wrote, "There are some landing pads for some flying crafts in certain places." Yes, Baalbek in Lebanon, etc. So we have, I mean, you could say, well, no, they're not landing places. Me and you, obviously, Danny, no, they are, because when you look at the structures of them and the size of them, there would only be for one reason. And in fact, with the tablets where they draw maps of certain things, we can actually see where they were building. Like Sapir was a spaceport. So yeah. Fakers wrote, "This is no longer a live back and forth. Your questions may be answered if you asked one." Trying to be nice. Joey's wrote, "Anunnaki means sons of." Yeah, I read that one earlier. Mr. Redbeard has wrote Planet X. Yeah, I should have brought that up, shouldn't I? So when NASA first mentioned Planet X, and as I say, I've been doing this for 40 years, and I read everything that I could to do with anything, and NASA brought up that there might be another planet. They did actually genuinely say there might be another planet in our solar system, and we call it Planet X. Roll on another 10 years after that, and it's, oh no, Planet X means an unknown planet. Well, why don't you say an unknown planet? And then they sort of say, well, it's not in our solar system. We're talking about, for example, Kepler B or something, another planet further out. And then they'll always point in that and say, well, that was Planet X, and now we've labeled it, so that's not Planet X anymore. So yeah, Planet X was their original name for Nibiru, where they probably, to be fair, NASA probably didn't actually have the correct name for it that we would have had, thanks to people like Sitchen. Sparks has wrote, aliens did create humans. I totally believe they did. I mean, just suddenly we appear 300,000 years ago in Africa, suddenly, and we have a missing link. So there is definitely something going on there. Mainstream say 300,000 years ago Africa. The texts say 300,000 years ago Africa. And then the Anunnaki say that they bred with humans 100,000 years ago in Mesopotamia. Lo and behold, the first, dare I say it, lighter skinned people ended up
there is an email message.
Being in Mesopotamia, which is exactly where the Anunnaki say that the RH blood type comes from 100,000 years ago. So it's, science kind of points to it as well. I know sadly we don't have a smoking gun, we don't have a craft, or that's not to say the military don't. I mean, bearing in mind the military went into Iraq, and the stories were that they went in for some tech that, now some people say it was a Stargate, but at that point Saddam Hussein believed he had the upper hand, because he was now saying that he's going to be a god and blah blah blah. So they went in fast, and it's not me saying that. He actually had posters and billboards and everything made up just before the Americans went in, and he was declaring that he will be able to be the savior, blah blah blah. So yeah, there probably was tech, but obviously military, and even the Nazis went around hunting for tech. So Captains wrote, the aliens slaved humans, then the floods, I'm guessing. Slarks has wrote, what if we are the aliens? It doesn't. I'm just trying to think, if from a logical point of view, how would we be aliens? We would have had to have suddenly appeared here. We would have had to have brought with us larger humans that we worshipped. So in other words, if the Anunnaki brought us with them, we would be with them in the first place, and they brought us here instead of but then we've still got the missing chromosome, and we've still got the date of 300,000 years suddenly. So you could say, well, and then suddenly the RH negative bloodline was introduced 100,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, which, if we was all part of the same lot, in other words, the Anunnaki and us, and we have to say the Anunnaki because literally there is carvings of them, there's writings about them, so they're definitely, a taller race with white beards that people ended up calling gods, even though their race name was Elohim. The logic doesn't sit that we would be the aliens with them, because they were definitely here. In fact, there was carvings of them instead of us. It wasn't till we got to Egyptian times that there was any carvings of humans that I'm aware of. I'm just trying to think. That's an interesting point. It wasn't until we got to ancient Egypt. We had obviously Ra, which was a god, and then we had the, for want of a better word, demigods, but obviously that's a Greek term. But we had Osiris and all that kind of stuff. But we actually had priests that they would draw and carve. So really, yeah, I wouldn't say we're from another thing. Chia Lee Lovers wrote "Lovely Lady." Brad has wrote, "Curious how you plan to debate thus. There's no possibility of proof." Sadly, you've joined a bit too late. The lady was here. We did have a nice debate. This will go on Spotify and YouTube, etc. If anyone wants to listen to the actual debate. I mean, there's a thing called ponderance of evidence. I don't know if you know what that means. The legal term. So basically, it depends on where your jurisprudence is, but in what country. But the substantial evidence in terms of what we've got that makes a whole, e.g., science pointing to the location, the carvings, the missing link, the fused chromosomes, and so on, so on, and so on. And the gold mines that have been found by miners over in Africa, and the translations from different people. I mean, even the Epic of Gilgamesh, not translated by Zachariah Sitchin, says that he wants to get immortality, and the tablets. I'm paraphrasing here because I can't remember exact words, but Epic of Gilgamesh basically says the only way you would be able to have the same longevity of life, like because Gilgamesh was 3 parts Anunnaki, 1 part woman, is because his mum was a woman, human. So the only way he could have that would be to go to the spaceport and talk to Untu, which was Ayana's half-brother, step-brother, twin, sorry, who was in charge of the spaceport, and try and get a craft back to Nibiru, where he would have a longer life than he would here. And that's when Enkidu came into the story to help him go on that journey, blah, blah, blah. In the end, he ended up going to and found elixir, which was the plant of life, which was in a well, which is where we get the fountain of youth, blah, blah, blah. So even that talks about Gilgamesh having to go to a spaceport to get back to the planet Nibiru. It may not say the word Nibiru in the actual translation, but what other planets are you going to go to? So yeah, and that wasn't Sitchin translating that. I mean, Sitchin did translate it, but that wasn't. I'm referring to one of the other translations. Users wrote, maybe the old civilizations didn't die out. Maybe they were reset because they were becoming violent. To me, the only evidence we've got of the earliest records of any civilizations would have been the Anunnaki, and I say that because of the city that is underneath Jericho that they found a couple of years back, buried city, in other words, because of the tsunami stroke flood. Anything else prior to that? So I don't think we've been reset. The only time that we've lost memory is where there was a period where the Anunnaki had set their rockets off and nuclear, and everyone vacated those areas, and thus people like in Egypt where the pyramids were, they didn't go anywhere near there because, as the Bible says, the eyes rot and basically radiation poisoning. So over a couple of thousand years, no one went anywhere near the pyramids, and therefore stories of them didn't get passed down, etc. And of course, no one really knew what they were for in the first place because the Great Pyramid got destroyed because of Marduk and Ninurta. So, yeah. Sorry, just scrolling down. It keeps scrolling to the bottom of the page. Sorry, guys. It's not intentional. I'm trying to go back to where it was. There's people talking to people. I don't know where I was now. Well, I hate that when that happens. I might have to just suddenly stop and pick somewhere. Joey's wrote Saddam thought he was reincarnated God. Yeah, because I think he had found tech, and bearing in mind he's smack bang in the location of where the Anunnaki were for hundreds of thousands of years. So if he did find some tech, that would make sense when he started putting all those posters up and everything. Just trying to find. Thank you, John, for the rose, or roses now. Thank you. Just trying to find where I was. It just suddenly. Robin has wrote, "What about us with RH negative?" To me, it smacks. It's Anunnaki blood type. It kills babies. It was found by our scientists to come from the Middle East, exactly where Mesopotamia was, and it came 100,000 years ago. The ancient text said the Anunnaki bred with the humans that they'd already created 100,000 years ago in Mesopotamia. Foreign blood shouldn't be there. Makes sense to me. I'm just trying to scroll back. I don't know where I was now. Oh, I've gone to the top now, so I have to go. It won't let me go any further, so I have to read what these ones are here. Alan's wrote, do you know of Matthew Lacroix? He explains a lot and has found evidence that we have found Planet X. I don't know of his name off the top of my head, so I can't answer that. But, I mean, bearing in mind, 10 years ago, if you listen to Coast, literally every night people were ringing in saying they've got photographs of Nibiru behind the sun. Honestly, they did. And I was with them then. I was like, yeah, well, we've got it. Oh, crap. That's bad news. Even though my calculations would have been wrong.
Someone has sent you a WhatsApp.
Thank you for the dark. My calculations would have been wrong if they were right. But 10 years on, they all disappeared, these people. You would have thought they would have been shown more and more photographs, because they were pointing people to their websites and YouTube videos and everything, saying, look, there's a dot, it's behind the sun, but they haven't. So I'm just saying that because Matthew might be one of those type of people. And again, forgive me, I'm not knocking him, but they all believed at that point 10 years ago, but now they haven't actually carried on with it, which now I go back to at least my estimation, whereas Sitchen's is another 500 years older than mine for when it's due back. Joey's wrote, the fact that the stars don't move over our heads at 50,000 miles per hour makes me suspect of a globe Earth. I haven't looked into that kind of, deep into that kind of thing, because I just want to know why when a rocket goes up, we see equal sides on the camera instead of one closer to the edge. From a simplistic point of view, that's just how I kind of need it simple. David wrote, true story, I think they live out beyond the ice walls. Okay, I'm not even going to go down the ice walls route tonight. I got work tomorrow. Kimmy's wrote, the planets control humanity. You could be right. I think something's controlling us, because you don't have all those very wealthy people praying to a bloody serpent and stuff like that for no reason. That's, you have a ham and cheese sandwich, or, you don't go and dress up in robes and to pretend to do sacrifices and stuff like that. And when I say pretend, there probably is a real one going on somewhere. Yeah. Common Sense has wrote to Elaine, some are good and some are evil. I think that was something I flicked past earlier when it suddenly all scrolled down, where Elaine said aliens are evil. Robin has wrote, what about us being... Okay, I read that one. Esme Thing has wrote, we didn't appear suddenly. It's just that we suddenly arbitrarily label something as homo. I mean, from a scientific point of view, we kind of did, only because they say the missing link. If they didn't bring out the word missing link, then I would have agreed with you. But missing link means there's a jump between Neanderthal and Homo erectus, or sorry, Homo sapien. Sorry. And yeah, I mean, the earliest record of a Homo sapiens sapien was Lucy, if I remember correctly. And that was in South Africa, which would have made sense. So yeah, I see what you're saying, but I would probably still say that we did suddenly appear. Barbara Entertainment's wrote, Africa is also so small on all maps. Globe is a lie. It's too hot in this room to go down the flat Earth side. You do, yeah. Okay, I'm not even gonna. Brad wrote, "What has happened to this world?" Laugh out loud. I don't know. Stop it, and I'll jump off. Danny's wrote, "Missing link and then modified DNA makes perfect sense." It does to me, yeah. Especially as I did that video just a couple of weeks back where it shows, and this was a new thing that they were doing, which was fusing chromosomes of mice and other animals. And they're probably other animals. I'm saying that because you know what scientists are like. They won't tell you what they're doing. They'll only tell you what they think you're allowed to know. But yeah, so fusing chromosomes, according to our scientists, does create a hybrid type creature. Alan's wrote, we also have a second sun. Technically, from things I've heard, it says that we should have been a binary star system. And reports are that I mean, I don't know whether this is true or not, but reports are that the second dead sun spins round with Nibiru. I don't know whether that's true or not, because when you read the Umm-Elish, it doesn't add there's a second sun. Or if it does, it's done it in a way that no one's interpreted it as a second sun. So maybe it already died out a long time ago and they just didn't bother writing about it. Timothy's wrote, the Nordic blondes are an interesting bunch. That they are indeed. Now, I think a lot of people think that they were actually the Nordic gods, but I don't think they are. I think what has happened is the Nordics, because of their look, they got called Nordics, in other words, Norse mythology gods, whereas I think, I haven't actually got around to doing videos yet, but I think the Norse gods were actually Anunnaki still, which again, blonde hair, blue eyes, which is similar to the description of the Nordics. One could say that the Nordics are the Anunnaki or the Pleiadians. You could throw that out there because supposedly they all fairly looked similar. The only difference is I think I've never heard anyone say the Nordics are 8 to 12 foot tall, whereas the Anunnaki were. And no one said the Pleiadians are 8 to 12 foot tall. They're generally 6.5 foot, from what I've heard. Winnie's wrote to Robin, "Oh, how are you, Anunnaki?" Danny's wrote, unless people believe the missing link is just vanished, doesn't make sense. Mark's wrote, has she gone? I'm afraid she has. Yeah, she had to shoot off, but I appreciate anyone talking to me, really, to be fair. No one does. David wrote, plus there is about 4 species between human and apes, so... Sorry, David wrote, plus there is about 4 species between humans and apes. Is that... do you mean 4 as in the number 4? Because you've wrote FOR, I'm not sure. Graffiti's wrote, DNA cannot be created by chance, it's intelligent design. Jesse's wrote, get people on live. I'm absolutely sweater in this room and I won't be on too long now. But I will have to do another one day. Timothy's wrote, has anyone heard of the Westall incident in Australia in 1966? You'd need to refresh my memory on what that is. Off the top of my head, I don't recall it. Esme's wrote, missing links are not unusual, perfectly normal not to have the full story yet. I mean, you know, in fairness, you could be right. Obviously, we probably haven't studied every single animal and studied their ancestors, because sometimes it's not worth studying a certain animal's ancestor to see whether or not there was a missing link. and the missing link is technically only because we can't find the animal in between. But we've kind of got a brilliant idea of where that missing link would be, because if Homo sapiens sapiens only were in the Abzu, which is South Africa to start with, which according to the text as well as science, that's where that would be. That would be the ideal place to look for the creature between Homo sapiens sapiens and Neanderthal, if there was one. So we've kind of got an idea of where to look. That's not saying anyone will bother looking, but Jesse's wrote, check your guest requests. I generally like to talk to people like that lady that I spoke to earlier. You know, we had a chat beforehand. We sort of knew what we was going to say and stuff like that. So if anyone's got sort of some knowledge, I mean, obviously that lady had years of her knowledge, so that's good. Because what I don't want to do is get someone on saying flat Earth and that's the end of it. That's all they know, sort of thing. Without sounding rude, they might only know that sort of subject. So, and I couldn't do a whole life talking about flat Earth. Frappies wrote to Joey, "Oh goodness, why don't you just say it? Flat Earth, it's round." Lineage has wrote, "Do you think they're coming back this year or next? If so, why?" No, there's a guy. I was going to quickly type it in. He wrote a book when his Anunnaki Return, and it's on Amazon book, and it's had June 2022. Here we go. Yeah, 10th edition. 2022. What will happen to us when Anunnaki return to Earth in 2022? Right, this guy's by Maximilian D something. 10th edition. Just using my little brain, you know what he's done. The 11th edition will be what happens when they return in 2023. 12th edition, 2024. So yeah, it's they're not coming back, not in the way that we expect them to be. He's got 158 ratings of, obviously it's, you know, he's probably wrote it well, but I don't know how much he can actually put in about what they would be doing when they come back. I'm just having a look. Actually, it says how God Yahweh ordered his chosen people to kidnap and then R space PE and slaughter women in the Bible. I must get it on Amazon. So I think he's probably used the Anunnaki as a way of getting people to buy the book, but it sounds like it's. I'm just interested. I've never read it, but obviously they've not turned up in June, so technically that, or not to us anyway. I'm just reading 1-star review. I was expecting great things from this book, but I feel very disappointed and confused. It came across as delusional writings of a madman. No, it's not my book, and contains glaring inconsistencies and contradictions which discredit the author. Bit of a shame, really, and leaves one question: what is the real truth? And then I should write on the bottom of that, go watch our true history videos. No, I'm joking. So interesting. So yeah, no, they're not coming back, even if someone's wrote a book saying they're coming back. Olstronos has wrote, I want to ask you a question. Where aliens come from? Because you're saying they created us. So the ones that created us were from a planet called Nibiru, and that is in our solar system that comes around every 3,600 years. Just so happens that roughly every 3,600 years we have some sort of cataclysm. You know what I'm saying? Tired now. You know, such as meteorite strikes, volcanoes, earth splitting, tectonic plates, etc., etc. You can actually go back and sort of check as best you can, and you'll find that seems to be the case. Not always, because obviously the further back you go, the further away Nibiru would have been from Earth in time, and obviously as it comes around, it gets closer and closer, and then it goes way further and further, just as we do with the sun. In winter and summer and that lot, we go nearer and further away. So yeah, they're from a planet in our solar system called Nibiru, and they were a race called the Elohim. It's written all over the Bible. It's just unfortunately people don't see that as their race name, they see it as God or gods, but it can't be gods. And even in the Bible, it says the sons of gods, or I think it was the sons of gods. Yeah, gods. I think it was plural. Took unto the daughters of man. It wasn't the son of God, sons of gods, sons of God. But it would have been Elohim. So the sons of the Elohim took unto the daughters of man. So yeah, it makes sense. Brad has wrote, there's no God, there's no aliens, leave it at that. Tell that to the people that's been abducted. Call Me Ray has wrote, consciousness. I'm not sure what I was talking about at that point. Winnie's wrote, boss, do a live with guests. Not to, I'm sitting in a bedroom with the door shut so no one could hear my boy in the background, and it's 9:30, so I'm probably not going to be able to do it tonight, and I'm quite tired, but I will have to do one then one day, as long as you can assure me that they can't ruin the TikTok live, if that makes sense. In other words, get me banned. Grunge has wrote, why did they create politicians? They messed up. They should have created more musicians. Interesting way of looking at it. Yeah, I wouldn't have created politicians. Todd has wrote, I think only humans can be as cruel as us humans. I think, I mean, I don't know if you've watched documentaries on apes, especially chimpanzees, when they go into a battle and the chimpanzees actually go in an army and they attack another colony of chimpanzees, they take bats with them and everything. They beat the crap out of them and leave them for dead. I know you could just say, well, that's just them, trying to survive compared to some of the sick things that humans do. So I guess humans, I mean, certainly on this planet we are bad, but I'm just thinking the Anunnaki did some things that, Enlil anyway. Yeah, I mean, they're not, yeah, I guess we got it from them. Common sense is for aliens are jinns. But again, when we land on another planet, we'll be an alien, but we're not a jinn. So, in my point, you can't generalize that aliens are jinns because there's different types of aliens, and as soon as we land on another planet, we'll be aliens. We have to be. You can't argue with that. So then you can't say, well, every other alien's a jinn, but not us, because once we do that, we are. I don't know. Lisa's wrote, "Are starseeds real?" Guess that was what you are talking about. That wasn't actually. The starseeds is to do with spirits as opposed to the Anunnaki. Are starseeds real? The bottoms, I have to be as quick as I can. The story was that light energy beings that had already been round and progressed off of Earth were asked to come back in the 60s and 70s to join with new babies again, but this time help raise our consciousness because we've been suppressed by governments, etc. That was in the 60s and 70s. I don't think we've been enlightened, so either it didn't work or that was a false story. Robbins wrote to Graffiti, exactly, they want us to believe in evolution. Mark wrote to Danny, I won't read that out, Mark. Chris has wrote, there is physical realm and the spiritual realm, no space, no planets, your world leaders lied. Normal people with telescopes can actually see planets. I mean, you can actually see planets with your own eye as well. Certain places here in the UK, you're lucky to see, the space, let alone planets. But people have seen planets, so they're there. People have drew them back in France, for example. I'm thinking of an astrologer that had one of the first telescopes. He got it fashioned, and he drew Mars. Now, if that's not Mars and he wasn't part of the establishment, then he's just delusional, I guess. You know, and he even drew the spot on Mars that goes round and round. So, and not, yeah. So I would say there is planets. We're on one. So to say there's no other planets is a bit, yeah. Enns just wrote babies look like aliens. Yeah, no, Mike. Yeah, they do. My firstborn had a suction cup on her head when she was pulled out, and so she was a cone head basically for a couple of days, and she looked like a cone head alien. John has wrote to John. We are by grace, and the souls inside our pineal gland constantly taking role for experience. I agree with the bit where you say we are by grace. That bit I'm not sure what you're referring to, but the souls inside our pineal gland spot on in my opinion. Barbara Entertainments wrote extra Terrans ET. You could say that. And then Joey's wrote to Barbara, the size of all continents on the map is off. Like Greenland, it's tiny when they show it huge. You know, I don't know how much you've looked into Perry Reese and his maps, and the fact that the maps were drawn elongated, and then when because obviously it's stretched round the ball, and then when you fold it flat, they redone it so it was smaller. So each continent wasn't the correct size it was, because they thought, why is it bigger there? It should be smaller. So they redrew it. And I think people nowadays have gone, haven't looked into that side of it and just said, well, the maps don't seem to fit the size of the continents. But when you're drawing something as you're going around a whole continent, So Esme's wrote, blood groups are not very significant in terms of DNA. I don't. Yeah, and what I have, I mean, I don't remember saying anything that they wasn't. I was just talking about chromosomes and Rh negative being from a particular place. Esme's wrote, what were you in hospital for? Hope you feel okay. I was joking about the person that said I should be going back to a hospital, because obviously we're talking about aliens and stuff like that. So it was my bad joke that obviously fell flat. But thank you for asking. Danny's wrote to Mark, I was struggling too. I was about to leave, but she announced she had to go. Whoops. The screen's just scrolled all the way to the bottom. I hate that when it does it. Sorry. I hate that when it does it. It puts me right behind. Sorry, I'm just trying to find where I was. I'm just gonna have to pick somewhere because time's getting on. So I'm just gonna. Esme has wrote, "There's no big jump between Neanderthal and Sapiens. Very similar DNA." Yeah, that's because we are part Neanderthal, genetically modified by the Anunnaki. In the end, it ended up being a clay pot or a dish or something like that, because they tried it with their own materials and it kept failing, and Enki said, let's try it with earth materials as opposed to their materials. So they created a clay jar or whatever, petri dish, whatever it was that they needed to do. And of course the Bible talks about that as, people getting made from clay, when obviously you can see how the translations were slightly off. But this is what I'm saying. So, when talking to someone that they haven't read all the tablets, for example, sometimes you can even find stuff in the Bible that was talking about tablets that may have now been destroyed. So you can kind of get an idea of what they're actually trying to get at if you've got other information. Metal detectors, right? Where did the jellyfish come from? One sec. I'm tired now. Just checking. I'm just going to see if I can find the answer to that. There's a list. I can't remember whether it was Poseidon or not. I know he supposedly done dolphins and mermans and mermaids and long list of different creatures that he supposedly created. And I can't remember if jellyfish was one of them. I don't think it was, but so I don't know the answer to that, I'm afraid. Elaine's wrote, I'm so hot I just can't take it anymore. I know, I'm literally in pants and sweat is just dripping off me. It's ridiculously hot. Blame Harp, that's what I do. Just trying to Ultrasonus has wrote, what motivated you to believe that aliens is our creator? So when I first started all of this, I wanted to go to the oldest texts known, because I figured, let's not read modern stuff, let's read it from. So I went to the Bible, because my mum was saying, there you go, you get all your answers there, and I didn't get all my answers, but there was holes there that sort of said it doesn't quite make sense how God created and then rested on the seventh day, when really you would have finished on the seventh day. You don't rest unless you carry on again, and there was just so many inconsistencies that I thought this ain't right, and then I carried on looking, and then found that there was older text than Hebrew, basically. And it all led me to Sumerian texts, and then obviously I had to read as many translations as I. If he was here earlier, you'll hear me bring up the Robert Williams Rogers translations, where he talks about Adapa going up to Nibiru, and that's in his translations called Cuneiform Parallels to the Old Testament. You should really read it; it's fascinating. It talks about dragons, but of course they're meteorites, and you'll see the description. Once you know that, you'll see the description where it's talking about it's up in heaven, but it's not heaven, obviously space, and it's got a towel about 30 miles long. It wasn't miles, it was a different description, but it works out to be about 30 miles long, and it's got a front end and this, that, and the other. So that's literally just from a logical point of view, even if Sitchen didn't know anything and you just read that, you would say, yeah, that's a comet. So everything else basically led down to South Africa, which is where humans come from. Homo sapiens started according to our science, and then you read people's translations of the ancient texts, which basically say that the Anunnaki, the actual the Astrahasis tablet or tablets in the British Museum literally say that the Anunnaki got fed up mining for gold. I should have pointed that out. That's in the British Museum, so there was definitely mining, because it says it in the actual tablet that is in the British Museum. But so yeah, they got fed up, and that's when Enki decided that he would create a hybrid, which makes sense to me. So Victor has wrote, thanks for the type of work you're doing here, bruv. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm as I say to everyone, do your own research. I might be completely wrong, but a lot of it's very logical to me, so I go with where's logical. If it's doesn't make sense, then I kind of think maybe there's something else that does make sense. Just scrolling down. Thank you, CC Gibson, for sending me the rose. You don't have to. I just sit here sweating for my own good. It's not, if you don't have to listen. I'd probably still do it if no one was listening. Frappy Chickens wrote, humans always clutch straws about everything. We don't accept nothing. It's probably a good thing in this day and age, to be fair. Ultrons, I don't know how you pronounce that. Did you know that is been found a lot of things in life from the Bible. I'm guessing you're saying, do I know that a lot of things have been found in real life from the Bible? Absolutely, yeah. Tower of Babel's been found, supposedly. The plague that destroyed people, where the eyes and everything was rotting. We've got actual green glass and evidence of isotopes in Egypt that show there would have been a nuclear explosion of some description. So yeah, there's a lot of things in the Bible. Obviously, the flood. There's it's not just in the Bible. It's obviously in other texts around the world. So yeah, there's because the Bible is basically a retelling of the older Sumerian books, tablets, but they obviously got the translation slightly wrong in some cases. Olstrons wrote like Noah's Ark and more. Yeah, Noah's Ark again is the tablets for the British Museum has the oldest known mention of Noah's Ark and actually tells how the story happened, how Noah got warned and everything. It's in the British Museum. Predates the Bible by thousands of years. So yeah, the Bible's just a poor copy, unfortunately, because of the translations. Esmes wrote, I mean, talking about aliens as if they is general knowledge about them. Yeah, obviously, it's been 40 years, so if I am talking as if it's general knowledge, forgive me. But to me, it is. Patrick, could the loss of height, etc., in humans be attributes of the radiation on Earth? I wouldn't have said so. The loss of height, I mean, the evidence shows that from. Okay, so I'm just trying to remember now. No, no hominids really were over 6 foot tall at any point, from what I remember. So we've never had hominids over 6 foot tall. The Anunnaki, with their carvings, etc., and the descriptions that they call us little people, were 8 to 12 foot tall, and we have had, skeletons and everything found of that, but given to places like the Smithsonian, who then run away with it and destroy it. So I think the height side, we're actually lucky that we're the height we are, and I think that's because of the Anunnaki. Now, Neanderthals and the first Homo sapiens sapiens could have been about 5 foot tall, in my estimation. Just going by science and going by roughly what the Anunnaki would have said and described and stuff like that. So I think we're lucky to be as tall as we are, if you call that lucky, I guess. But yeah, so I don't think it's radiation. I just think that we're the height because of mixing with a smaller race and a larger race. Just scrolling down. That person, Olstrons, has wrote, hey viewers, I have a question. Are you Christians? And if you are, do you have Catholics? And if you are, do you have Catholics? Are you Christians? And if you are, do you have Catholics? I'm not sure how that's supposed to be read. Sorry if I'm reading it wrong. Okay, I'm probably going to have to shoot them in my eyes going a bit blurry, and this sitting here with sweat dripping off my head now, which you really didn't need to know. Rikus has wrote, Bigfoot is what humans would have naturally evolved to without tampering. You're not probably far wrong. I'm not saying the Bigfoots are us without tampering, but we would have probably ended up being. Well, to be fair, there were different hominids around, and each one supposedly looked slightly different from the next. So Neanderthals had hair, whereas Homo erectus didn't have as much hair as Neanderthals. So I guess you could say some of them might have ended up looking like a Bigfoot. Thank you, Winnie. You don't have to give me an ice cream. A cold shower would have been nice. Thank you. Just scrolling down. Okay, so I'm just going to probably take another couple of questions because it's been a hot, long night. Susie Q wrote to someone. Sorry, I'm not reading out people's where they're saying at, because people chatting to each other. Metal detectors wrote that lady had many good points about dimension. Yeah, I mean, listen, I've said in my lives that I think there's a second dimension. Thank you, Winnie, for the fan. How long did that take you to find? I've said in my lives I think there is another dimension because there's so many stories I've heard from different people that have no reason to lie, etc. And I even think that the little people, the pixies and the leprechauns, etc., come from a different dimension. So I believe there's a different dimension, but until someone can physically show a proper dimension, not just atoms disappearing and suddenly reappearing, because you got to remember the story of the USS Eldridge, the Philadelphia experiment. Things disappeared there, but it wasn't going through to another dimension. No one's ever said another dimension. Time travel and things like that, but not an out of phase, but not another dimension. So you could throw that in there and say, oh, well, they went off to another dimension, but there's no evidence of a second dimension. So until someone gives us that actual categoric proof, I can't say there is a second dimension, even though I believe there is. Happy Maids Kent has wrote, if the world is flat, why does the water not fall off the end? Their argument would be that there's an ice wall and that's what's keeping it in. And then my argument will be, well, show me the ice wall. And then they'll point me to Antarctica. And then I'll say, no, I want the ice wall behind Australia. And then they'll say, the Americans won't let you there. And I say, what about before the Americans had the ability to stop people going there? Where's the stories? Where's the camera footage? Where's no cameras? Well, there would have been cameras from 1850 onwards. That's because there was a storm. This is genuinely what I get. There was a storm so bad that there's a storm around the planet that you just can't go past it. Oh, show me the picture of the storm. Well, you can't because the Americans stopped you. And I said, well, okay, but what about before the Americans? And it goes round and round and round. So that's their answer as to why the water don't fall off the edge. Metals wrote to Barbara, is the sun also flat? I know. See, that's the problem, because obviously all the other planets just happen, if they're flat, then they say they're not planets. They're just I don't know what they are. If they're not planets and people can see them with their own telescopes, I don't know what they are then if they're not planets. So yeah. Mr. Escobar has wrote, look at Alaska. Not sure what that was referring to. Sorry. John has wrote, do you believe the Antarctic has any history? I've read up so much history on it, including the aliens. So basically, underneath the ice is green grass. Before that was swampland and marshland, according to our scientists. The Anunnaki did set up markers. If you read the Lost Book of Enki, they set up sort of an away station to monitor the ice shelf. So there was obviously some knowledge of Antarctica and what it was about to do. Now, Admiral Byrd says that both north and south he could see grass, which means that further on from, e.g., where Scott the Antarctic, further on you could actually get to, not all ice, which is fine. But unfortunately, people have taken that as the world's flat, and therefore that's extra land instead of it just being not all covered in ice. So yes, the answer to your question, if it's not always all been covered in ice, as Admiral Byrd was saying, he saw green grass, then someone could have landed there or crashed there or even went there. Not, obviously it will be cold, but who's to say a species didn't evolve in the cold? I mean, Eskimos live in the cold. If that was me, I would have packed my bags and done a runner. But now I'm so hot, I'll be thinking, let's go where the Eskimos are. Okay, a couple more questions, and then I have to go and sort stuff out. Patrick's wrote, are starseeds Pleiadians or angels in waiting for a specific timeline? So what I've heard from various people, including hypnotherapists, is that the starseed, the word starseed, I know there's other people out there will use a different word, the same word for different things, like aliens coming to Earth and stuff, but the starseeds that I'd heard about were spirits that would be coming back to help us go back over and try and raise our consciousness. So I know there's obviously other people with different versions, but that was the version that I heard and kind of made sense, but nothing seems to have happened. Obviously we have got hybrids as well, so I know people could say they're star seeds technically. Wake Up 3 is where aliens are made up by the government. So before the governments, I love this sort of thing, before the governments, when we've got pictures of flying objects and ant people, stories from native Indians, etc., that didn't have any governments, what would you say about them? Were they delusional? And we've got ancient, well, not ancient, but very old paintings with UFOs in them and little people inside the craft flying. And that was before the government sort of got together and decided that they want to do what they're doing now. So I would probably not throw too much light on the governments, because prior to that, there was things happening that the governments had no control over. Just Foxy's wrote, "Thank you for your time. Appreciate the debate. Very interesting." Thank you. Yeah. I hope people, go away from that and sort of do their own research, if anything. Saman has wrote, "We are aliens, but with a little grey face." I wouldn't say we're grey aliens. Jonah has wrote, "There is now a lot of apes listening to you." I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Alstrons has wrote, "How are you?" to me. Very tired and sweating. Just a couple more questions, and I'll keep saying that. That's why I let the battery run down, because I will keep going. I'm just trying to find people. Garrett has wrote, "With you all the way." I'm hoping that's me. June has wrote to Barbara, "Any footage of the ice wall anywhere around, it doesn't have to be Antarctica." I know, that's what I say, but they will point you to Antarctica, unfortunately. Well, the only reason why they point you to Antarctica is because obviously Admiral Byrd said about the green grass, and there was an Antarctic treaty which has basically stopped people flying over this massive craft. But of course, people's then changed that and added a dome and I don't know what else they put out there. Flat Earth dome, no space, water above, blah blah blah. In fact, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth talk about as above, so below, and they're actually saying nothing is above and below. So it's quite interesting. That's to do with the fact that they came from when the universe started, according to them. Okay, last questions from. So forgive me if I haven't got to your questions. I've been doing this for a couple of hours, and but I do these regularly. So if you listen out, you can catch me then, or just go to ourtruehistory.co.uk and you'll see hundreds of videos there, or on TikTok or on YouTube. Our True History. Kenya has wrote, "Do you believe in God in the Christian sense, along with the Sumerian gods, or just in the Sumerians?" Definitely well, I have to go with the original tablet. So, for example, the original tablet for Noah is in the British Museum that says Enki. Starts with Enki, not Lord, not God, not Yahweh, not Joshua, not Jesus, not anything else other than Enki, which is amazing because obviously Enki is one of the Anunnaki. So, where the Christian Bible talks about a god, we've got Enki as the god. But then later on in other texts, we've got Marduk or Marduk as the god. And then other texts, we've got Enlil as the god. So we've got 3 Sumerian gods straight away, let alone Ishtar and all the others, the 12 main other ones that. So we have to, I have to look at that and say, okay, is the Bible talking about them? And obviously we've got the original text, which doesn't say what the Bible says. It says what it actually says. So the Bible, in my opinion, is talking about the Anunnaki. But the Anunnaki do talk about the creator of everything. What that is, could it be a thought, as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth says? Could it be a computer program? Could it be, anything. I don't know what it could be, but that's what they talk about. But the Christian Bible's not talking about them. It talks about the stories of the Anunnaki. So I just believe in the Anunnaki. I believe there's something created the universe. What that is, I have no idea. It could be a thought. It could, as the Emerald Tablets say. Metal detects host is not a fan on dimensions, but density, possibly same word. I do believe in different dimensions, but I like evidence, because otherwise, if I start going and saying there's different dimensions, then everyone that comes on and saying that there's demons and aliens are demons and fallen angels are demons, and I have to then agree with everything they say without questioning it, because if I start not questioning different dimensions because we haven't got physical proof of it. I mean, you've got scientists that say, yeah, we can create a different dimension, but we don't know for sure. That's just them messing around with atoms. And like I say, I proved that the first time they did the quantum entanglement, they thought they'd been messing around with different dimensions. Turned out they said no, it wasn't. So at this point, until we can prove it, so yeah, I am a fan of different dimensions, but density, I think yeah, I'll have to save that for another day. The reason why I'm saying that is because I was reading again today about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, talking about manifestation and things that are very similar to density and how to break free, but they don't actually mention another dimension. But that's not to say they're in already another dimension, because obviously they're not here. And something else I actually read, which I didn't catch on to. This is why, if you read the so I put a new video up on my Patreon page. Sorry, advert time. And a 15-minute video that's called "Everything You Need to Know About Spirits," and it's gonna be a very long video, so I'm doing it in segments. So the first 15 minutes is there, but the next segment, when it's released, will actually talk about. Let me see if I've still got it. Where is it? I've probably not got it now, but it's fascinating. I missed it. All the times I've read that freaking Tablets of Thoth, I missed it. It literally talks about I'm trying to remember it. One of the spirits, one of the seven spirits, main spirits, has to go into the earth because the earth's living, something like that. Words to that effect, which is absolutely fascinating, because when you look at the crop circles and the orbs coming out of the ground and then creating a crop circle to let a UFO above know whatever is wrong with the earth, that kind of makes sense to me. So, okay, I'm probably going to shoot now. So forgive me, everybody, for having to shoot, but it's 10 o'clock and I don't know about you guys, but I've got work in the morning, unfortunately. But thank you very much. I know I haven't got to everyone's questions, but I do appreciate everyone's time, and I feel bad I didn't get to your questions, but next time if you catch me, I will try and answer them. So thank you, everybody. Try and go and cool down somewhere. I know I will. Take care, everybody. Thank you. And I'll put this on Spotify and YouTube and stuff tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Thank you. Bye. Bye.